Welcome to the Panic Button, the place where fear meets honesty, humor, and humanity. Let's press in. My name is Craig Ellingson, and in the studio today we have the special guest, Rebecca Kerner. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello.
How are you on this gloomy, rainy day?
Oh, I love rainy days, so I'm doing wonderful.
So I met Rebecca as a student, and I've always called her Rebecca, but now she likes to go by Becca. Mm-hmm. So I will try to honor your wish.
You're good.
It may be Rebecca, it may be Becca. Well, hello, listeners. Today we are discussing fear of rejection, and I invited Becca in. Why? Why fear of rejection with you?
Well, I feel like you chose me because I am not only like a visual artist, but I'm a performer as well. So I feel like I've seen all sorts of like fear of rejection myself throughout my years as an artist in various ways.
And full disclosure, I am also a performance artist, and rejection is not fun. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter in what part of your life it is, your profession, your personal life, but what are some things that you have dealt with as far as rejection, and how do you persevere through rejection?
Yeah, I feel like, well, for the performance side of things, like I remember growing up and like auditioning for, local community stuff.
Right. And
it was when I was a high schooler, and I remember that first rejection that I got when I was auditioning in the community, and it hurts. Mm-hmm. Like your first one always hurts, but realizing that it's just like we were even talking about back and forth, like the redirection mm-hmm. of like it's not meant for you,
right?
And that's okay, and just finding ways to work and navigate through that too. But yeah,
can you share maybe an experience where the rejection really hit you in a way that took you aback and you had to kind of maybe reassess or redirect, as you just said, in a way that made you more resilient the next time it happened?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many different things that I've done, like even applying for like museum exhibits and that mm-hmm. kind of thing.
Right.
Like MSUM had like a student juried exhibit where I submitted art to be exhibited, and it kind of takes you aback where you're like, I'm really proud of this artwork. And I, spent however long in my college career, like working on this one artwork, just hoping people can see it. And it's just those moments that really, they take you aback because you're like, oh no, like this is what I'm going to school for. And it's that pressure of wanting to be seen or submitting your work to be exhibited. It's always hard. But
well, I mean, literally in times you are challenging yourself to be seen and to be heard. Mm-hmm. And those are scary, vulnerable places to be put in. Mm-hmm. And yet we continue to do it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy when you really think about it. Mm-hmm. Because rejection, especially in the world of performance art, is so high mm-hmm. because there are so few roles and so many people auditioning for those roles that you are bound and determined to be rejected more often than you are actually accepted. Mm-hmm. And yet we continue to do it. So what do you think it is about performers that have to deal with rejection that maybe non-performers could take away something from them and go, oh, I maybe should think about it that way instead?
Yeah, I feel like for me, like growing up, I've always performed for things with like a very open mind in mm-hmm. general, where I'm not always like pinholed on one specific thing that I want. Because I feel like especially as a performer, just seeing myself in multiple roles is so helpful because then you're not pigeonholing yourself into just one view of how other people might see you. Right, because
there are so many people who go into audition, let's say for the musical Annie, and they have to be Annie.
Yes.
And if they don't get Annie, mm-hmm. then they're devastated.
Yes.
So making sure that you are looking at yourself with your strengths and your weaknesses mm-hmm. in such a way that you could see yourself in multiple areas versus
yes.
you use the term pigeonholing,
mm-hmm.
Pigeonholing you directly into there, where if you don't get that, you won't survive. And that's kind of, very, but mm-hmm. that's not true, but that's sometimes how we feel.
Yes. Like, I don't know, I feel like that's helped me mentally, where, you just don't put yourself in that box, and making sure you're staying open, and I don't know, like keeping that hope alive in your heart, even mm-hmm. if you get that rejection for something that you were really hoping for. And also just in general, being like a big cheerleader for people that are also, maybe auditioning for the same shows or submitting art for an exhibit that you're also doing things for. And you're like, I couldn't, I'm unhappy, maybe that I didn't specifically get in, but I'm so much more happier that someone else did,
It all goes back to High School Musical. We're all in this together. Exactly. So I remember a quote from a documentary many years ago. They made a film about the Broadway revival of A Chorus Line. And this one woman who had been going through the audition process, because for a Broadway revival, it's many months, maybe even a year to 2 years. And they were interviewing her. She was coming out of the subway, and then she just walked away. And she said, all I can do is do the best that I can do on that day. And then I got to let it go because it's out of my hands. If they want me, they want me. If they don't, they don't. And I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And that's just sometimes a hard thing to do.
And I feel like in general, too, I feel like I'm so choosy on, like, what I want to audition for or just, like, certain opportunities that I want to be a part of. And just, like, being more open to rejection in general for me, too. Like, it's scary. It's still scary to this day, where you might have something that you're really dreaming about. But I feel like we can all get better at just, like, trying it out. Try out things that you wouldn't normally do. But yeah.
That's very true. Because I think that we all limit ourselves sometimes because of fear.
Yeah.
And sometimes because we are, I'm going to use the same term, fear. Because we don't grow unless we push beyond what is comfortable. And that getting out of one's comfort zone is a very scary, vulnerable place to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do not like to be in that particular set of circumstances.
Yeah. Like doing shows that I normally wouldn't do, Like, I'm trying to think of things. Like, I just auditioned for a play recently, and I'm such, like, a musical theater girly.
Right.
Where I love music and performing and that kind of thing, but just finding opportunities to try out things that you've never done before. Because as an artist, you get your comfort zone of what you love and what you enjoy.
Right.
But if you don't push yourself outside of that comfort zone, you'll never know what you love outside of that.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. The idea of trying to expand your own personal view of what you are going to put yourself out there for, right? So going beyond musical theater and going into non-musical theater, just spoken word theater is also a scary place to be. So why have you opened up that venue for yourself?
I don't know. I feel like it's because of just seeing the opportunity and, like, realizing within myself, I'm like, wait, I haven't done this before.
Right.
What's stopping me from doing it? And I don't know. I feel like I have the free time and the flexibility to explore those things now. And just realizing that, like, time is a constraint too. That's kept me in my comfort zone. But yeah.
I'm trying to think. What are some other areas of your life? For me, the idea of dating, jobs.
Yeah.
Right. Job rejection. Even as being a professor that I am for such a long time, every day you go in to the classroom and you hope that you're not going to be rejected by whatever it is you're presenting or the way in which you are presenting it, or do they like you? Do they like the content?
Yes.
Are you bringing the content to life in a way that they can connect to? Are they bored? Right? And so, and you as well have also dipped your toe into teaching.
Yes.
So how does teaching and your profession also have that kind of fear of rejection as part of that?
That is such a good question. I don't know. I feel like even being a teacher versus a performer on stage, it's so different because you're you as an educator.
Right.
And I remember my advisor, like, so many times when I was, like, talking about, I was like, I don't know why I'm, like, so anxious when I'm teaching, but I'm, like, fine on stage. And it really is, like, comparing it to the theater world, like, live improv,
Right.
where you're like, you have
Yep.
no idea what could happen next, even though you have a plan. You have to be flexible.
Well, and that plan
Yeah.
very rarely happens.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yep. But I don't know. I feel like the fear of rejection not only comes like deep rooted within yourself, where like you were saying, like, how am I being presented to my students, and how are they engaging
Right,
with me?
right.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. But I feel like I've grown so much in my like professionalism in the space too, where it's like, wait, I know what I'm doing. Like that fear of rejection kind of shimmers away
Right.
once you gain that confidence in yourself in that space, and you have those like deeper connections and the rapport with your students
Mm-hmm.
too. But yeah, you like the fear doesn't go away unless you face it head on.
Right.
Really.
I stumbled across a definition, or maybe not a definition, a term, edutainer.
Mm-hmm.
So I am trying to use myself more as an edutainer, because
Yeah.
then I'm bridging both of those worlds, because you really do have to present the content, even if I'm in a public speaking course, or if I am in a live entertainment course,
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm in or trying to teach online, right?
Yeah.
And having those moments of trying to engage those people and wanting to make sure that, oh, wait a minute, maybe they didn't like how I worded that
Yes.
email for my online class, or maybe I made a bad joke in class.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's just trying to accept who I am and where I am in 2025, which is very different than where I was in when I began my teaching career,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how the confidence has really grown as you become more competent. And so the competent and the confidence comes together, and that ability to really try to push and change not only the students and, for lack of a better term, the world. It's because you start believing in yourself even after you have been rejected.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And always trying to learn from those experiences in such a way that you're able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, start all over again. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Talk to me about maybe an experience you've had on stage where you have doubted yourself, because that doubt and self-rejection, or rejection in general, kind of
Yeah.
go hand in hand at times.
Oh, I mean, I feel like I have like moments in my head where you're on stage and you're like, oh no, like I am forgetting this lyric in time. And of course you're stuck
And you
in that
can't
moment.
and you can't beat yourself up at that
Yes,
moment,
exactly.
because you have to keep going on,
Yep.
right?
Yep. So, once again, like working on your toes in that fear, in that moment, and just realizing where you are and trying to regather yourself. And it's amazing in that moment where you're just like, I trust myself to do something,
Right.
and it happens. But there's always that inner fear where it's like, oh no, I made this little mistake. Everyone's gonna notice it, and you get in your head, like especially throughout the rest of the show. But then you have to redirect because you're like, wait, we still have more of the show to do.
Right. Well, and I think that would be something, if I could, share with everybody, is that we all do screw up, right?
Yeah.
Because we're human.
Yep.
And part of that is working through that in the moment, rather than holding on to it and then shutting down.
Yeah.
Right? So how can you take something that maybe did not go so well and own it in such a way that you have to persevere and go through it? Because the more we wallow with fear and rejection, we don't grow. We become stifled, and then we are just stuck. And I think it's really interesting now, especially for some younger people, given where we are at with technology and devices, right? How do you engage and how do you work through your fear of potential rejection by going out and engaging with human beings, rather than just staying in chat rooms? I don't even know if do they have chat rooms anymore?
I mean, kind of.
I don't know.
We
Yeah.
talk. I don't know.
Or just engaging through social media.
Yes.
And how, this whole kind of perfect world that is so dictated and presented on social media versus being who you are.
Yeah, that's so true. I know I wanted to go on that tangent earlier even when you're talking about like teaching online. Like that's a whole different scope of areas where you could be rejected, or how do you navigate that? Yeah. And I feel like especially in the technology era, like especially as a young adult who's grown up with technology, the amount of pressure we all put on ourselves to make sure we have like the perfect feed, or we're extra conscious about what we like and how people are perceiving things, because like Instagram has a feature where you can see what people like, and it's insane. You're just being perceived.
Thing is just so crazy because everything that, in my opinion, so much of what is put out there is so curated that it is so far removed from reality in order not to be rejected. But then it just kind of creates this weird kind of superficial, super curated world where you're not real.
Yes. And I feel like I'm even like fighting that with myself with like my own social media presence, where I'm realizing how much time I put into making like my little like collage posts of like what I'm doing. But I'm like, why am I so worried about like just posting a picture about what I'm doing, you know? And I feel like that is just added pressure on myself as an artist, and the way I present myself and the things that I put out into the world, where I want it to be pretty or, you know, perceived in an aesthetic sense, you know? But it's really interesting to think about that.
Well, that's because rejection happens on multiple levels nowadays, right? In olden days, it just used to happen more or less in person or maybe on the phone, and now it can be in person, online, on an Instagram chat or on a reel. So it is quite amazing that technology has really pushed and changed the way in which we communicate and interact, and therefore has also challenged and changed the way people engage with that discourse, either positively or negatively. Right? Because of all the anger faces with the thumbs down and all of that, and how, you know, in recent couple, 3 or 4 months, how divisive things have become, given different rhetoric and potential fear of rejection of ideas, right? And we're definitely seeing, in my mind, a real kind of, I don't want to be rejected anymore, so I'm going to try to silence this person because they reject my ideas. So they can no longer speak. They should not have the right to do this. No more freedom of speech. And some of that rejection is really being played out in a political way as of right now.
I feel like I've even seen that online too, where like you have that inner fear. I was like, what can I share? And will I, you know, lose friends because of, you know, sharing my views on things? And that's hard, where it's like, I wish we could live in a world where we could all be very open about all those crazy, wonderful views that the world has, you know?
Exactly.
But,
Well, is there anything that you would want to say? Oh, how about this? This is a great question. What would you say to a younger version of yourself about how to prepare for rejection in any way, shape, or form as it relates to, you know, your personal life, your professional life, your artistic life? Whatever.
I guess what I would say to a younger Becca is just do it. Like, you just got to do it. Because I remember when I was so little, and like we were talking about earlier too, like community theater, like I was scared for the longest time to just get myself out there because I saw all these wonderful people and kept on comparing myself to them. I was like, I don't know if I could ever do that. Like, they are immaculate. You know, you put people on a pedestal. But it's amazing how much you can grow, and like we've been talking about over and over again, that fear just dissipates as soon as you gain that confidence in yourself, and just stop beating yourself up over the little things, because you can do it. But
I think that's a great place to leave our listeners. Thank you so much, Rebecca Kerner, for joining me in the studio. And ladies and gentlemen, the listening world, Join us next week where we'll talk with more people about fear and the panic button.